Showtime.
It's about that time.
Let's go.
You're right where you need to be. This is GCOM Radio.
Hardest radio station on the planet. Yeah.
Powered by Lyfeblood.com.
We certified.
And hosted by Nova Phoenix.
Give them that flavor.
Okay, how are you, everybody? What's going down? We are here for another show. Thank you for tuning in. This is your one and only Nova Phoenix, host of GCOM Radio. I didn't do the greeting the way I want to do it, but you know what? Why don't we just do it off the top? I am your host, Nova Phoenix, on GCOM Radio, on iHeartRadio. And I'd like to thank everybody that's coming in to listen to this damn show, man. Like I said, I was going to bring another one, and I do appreciate it. And I'm here for another week. How has your week been? Even though I don't know what you're saying right back at me, but it's always good to do proper greetings, man. It's always good to dope to do proper greetings to anybody, to everybody that's listening to this joint, wherever you at. I just want to open up this show to you guys and show some appreciation. My week has been pretty cool, pretty all right. I got some just living out the summer right, just hanging out and doing the duty and all those beautiful things. Oh man, went to Whole Foods. Love Whole Foods, man. I love that place. It's expensive, man, but if you want good food, my dad always said, if you want to have the good, healthy food, you got to be willing to spend the money. And your Whole Foods is definitely the dopeness when it comes to, getting that type of food. I never had a quail egg. Haven't seen in a while. I remember seeing my first quail egg at Whole Foods. I never had a quail egg, but I know a quail egg can't be any more different than a freaking, a chicken egg. So I don't know. Maybe I'll do something different next time I go to Whole Foods, man. I love their hot food section. I'm a big fan of olives too. I don't know anybody, but I'm a big fan of olives. I got some olives. Now I'm watering my mouth to watering for some olives. And they got a whole section of it. I wish there was more Whole Foods. And I was about to say at an affordable price, but I guess that's what you would call Trader Joe's, and I do go to Trader Joe's. But I don't know, man. They have such a variety of different foods at Whole Foods. It's a joy. It's like a kid in a candy store for me because I always see something new, man. I mean, Trader Joe's, you kind of get used to the same products over and over again. But Whole Foods always seems like they have something different from a new company, and it's just good to try things out. I've come at a point in my life where I don't really look at prices. You know what I mean? Like before, you could just say, you want to nitpick and be like, yo, that's 10 cents more, that's 20. I don't do that now. I really don't, especially when I go to Whole Foods. I do look at prices, and it always surprises me. It always surprises me. I'm like, God damn, it is. So, but more so than anything, I really don't look at prices like that when it comes to, food shopping. If I really see something that I want to try out and it looks delicious and it looks good, I'll just pick it up and throw it in there. And then I guess when they ring it in, I'm like, oh shit, that's $6.25. Because like I said, when you really want something, you won't look at prices like that. And it is what it is. But yeah, I'm not even on front. It does get expensive. I love Whole Foods, man. Dope. And I like the whole vibe. They got they're very running on the model of sustained energy. Sustainable energy. When they have the outside in the parking area, the overhang, there's solar panels, and then they also have, I went to the one in Brooklyn this time by IKEA, and they also have wind turbines, small, but I didn't see them working. And they also have a charging station for those that have Teslas. So that whole thing, that whole vibe, the energy as far as sustainable energy, fresh foods, fresh vegetables, just good eats, I'm all for it. It's the energy. It's just not just the food. It's the whole mission statement of trying to be sustainable, in every which way. And I think they also have a garden on the top roof. I haven't seen it. I haven't been upstairs. I've looked at it briefly a couple of times. I went up there. There was folks up there, but I didn't go the last time. But it's always dope to walk in the Whole Foods. Anyway, and it just reminds me how much. Oh my God, our food, man! Our food is such a problem. It is such a problem. I mean, I'm tired of tomatoes. I think I said that on the show. I'm just tired of bad tomatoes, man. I'm just so tired of bad tomatoes, and that's why I like going to Whole Foods, because you just notice the difference between okay food and just low end food and just food that has care. Yo, matter of fact, when I went to Whole Foods, they actually had a section. I was with my wife. They had a section where they were growing their own mushrooms. They had this hot cabinet, and they had this, I don't know, it looked like the size of a little bit bigger than basketballs. But it wasn't entirely round. It was taking all its own shape. But then you had mushrooms growing out the top of this material, whatever it was. I'm like, what? They growing their own mushrooms? I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. And that's what that's what communities in a lot of different cities lack, especially in poorer communities, man. They lack quality food, man. And let me tell you, like I said, when you taste what a real tomato tastes like, you never want to go back, man. You never want to go back. And I'm like, damn, all those years I've been eating tomatoes, they're supposed to taste like this? So, I mean, like, that goes for everything, man. That goes for everything. Like, I also saw this thing on TikTok. I actually signed up for TikTok. I don't really post anything. Maybe I should. I don't know. But I actually saw someone that was talking about, how to clean your produce. They showed like a little clip of them sinking produce in like some sort of chemical, I guess in the sink was chemicals and water, everything like that. And you saw all the bugs come out of it. Man, they was like, this is how you do it. She was talking about like 6 different ingredients, natural ingredients might add, to clean your fruits. And I'm like, damn, I got to go through all goddamn that just to eat some fruits. Man, I mean, one thing that it brought to mind, that we live in an age of just information overload. Everything, it's like there's so much information out there that's false and also that's true, and you try to lead a clean path, a higher consciousness. Of course, you get older, you're more aware of what you put in your body. You're more aware of the toxicity around you in terms of people, places, and things. So you try to balance your zen. You get more of that as you get older, and then especially when in terms of food, and then like it's information over everything. It's like, yo, I cannot just eat something. Even when something is healthy, I just can't eat it. And they were talking about, you have to worry about the pesticides, the bugs and all this thing. And I'm like, I am not soaking my produce in I wash my produce, I wash it, I rub it with my hands as much as I can, and I eat. I mean, how did they do it back in the day, like 100 years ago? You just planted them damn potatoes and you grew your apples, and that's it. And I understand that people are going to be like, well, there's pesticides. I'm like, yeah, all right. But I mean, it's like a whole process just to feel like you should be eating clean produce. And I'm just tired of it, man. Oh my God. Like my mushrooms, of course, you see dirt on it because they pick it and they throw it in a little plastic containers. I wash them. But damn, it's crazy. It's crazy what they ask you to do. And then the other thing in terms of information overload, now they're talking about, I saw something where they're talking about air fryers are bad. I saw, again, another video on social media. You got to be very careful with social media because, oh my God, it's just, it's like almost the same thing like what they have if they have, what do you call it? The DIY thing, videos. And now they have videos that are they fool you. They're like fake stunt DIYs. And what do I mean by that? Like if someone tells you how to clean your car, they'll say, okay, use squash. Use laundry detergent, then take a bar of soap and scrub real deep, and then get a Brillo pad. And then so it's like they'll lead you on this long goose chase, and it's crazy, man. And I noticed that probably a little bit. It's when I saw I forgot what I was watching. I was watching this DIY on how to make a steak, and it was like 15 minutes long, and I knew it was something like 5 minutes. I'm like, these people keep on rambling on, and they keep on telling you they're going to get to the end product, but they keep on drawing it out, and they're adding more things. I'm like, oh my God, this is mad fake. Yeah, this is like those stupid stunt DIYs that just trick people, and I'm sure there's those folks that like listen to the whole 15-minute DIYs and they're like, oh, I guess that's how you're supposed to grow your fruits. And it's like, it's dumb. It's so dumb. But yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Information overload. Like, as they say, the internet is the information superhighway. But that's always, they always promote new technologies and new inventions in the cleanest, the most, what do you call it? Inspiring way. These are all the ways where it could benefit people, and it's great. It does, but there are always people that will try to use a new technology, a new tool, in like effed up ways. You know what I mean? Like, and then of course, with the internet, it's stupid, it's dumb. I mean, this information overload and these stunt DIYs is ridiculous. So yeah, they were talking about air fryers. There's some sort of chemical in air fryers now, so you just dump your air fryer because it's going to contaminate your food. And I'm like, but I'm thinking, I saw like I just got tired of it. I saw like literally like 5-10 seconds of this video talking about air fryers are poisonous, and I just switched it because I'm just at a point where now I'm like, yo, all right, what else is there? Because I'm thinking air fryers just air fry your food, right? Nothing really it's not like you dump it in oil or anything. It's just frying your food in air or something like that, where you don't typically just use oil, right? So you think it's a healthy, better way to fry your foods. Now they're talking about, oh yeah, the chemicals in the air fryer is messing up your food. I'm like, oh my God. So now, am I totally blocking things out there that could, put me on to new information, new knowledge? No. But it's like, it comes to a point, and then maybe I'll see something, I'll Google it, and I'll look it up, and be like, okay, what is this thing about there? But I'm like, it's just getting tired right now. And especially with the bots. People. Let me tell you, the bots on or within social media, there are more bots than you know. That's another thing, this trick bag they pulling on you with social media. So you post something and you get like 100 responses, depending on, how many people you know. So even that's a trick bag in itself, because people got a lot of fake followers. And I'm sorry, I'm going to segue into this one, and I'll come back around to that. This one woman she did some sort of an event. I saw it on, again, social media. Nobody showed up. And supposedly she was this high influencer with 1 million followers. And pretty much this video was trying to tell people, it doesn't matter how many followers you have, but if you don't have reoccurring people that are customers, are you really an influencer? And a lot of times, they have these companies that try to promote, and they email you saying, hey, listen, we can get you real followers. They're not really real. All of a sudden you follow somebody with 150,000 followers and they really don't have that many people. That's why I was never into it. I was like, I'm not doing that. So as far as these bots are concerned, there are a lot of fake bots that respond to you negatively within social media. Like, sometimes I'll read like a TikTok, or more so like a Twitter, and I'm looking at these responses and it's something negative, and I'm like, and I'll say, let me click on these people's profile, and they got like 1 follower, 2 followers, right? Or they'll have like 100 followers, but I'm like, who are these people that are following you, right? And they all of a sudden they opened up this page in like June or July, what's today's date? They opened up the page July 17th, and now they have this comment that they want to share with you. And some people get truly upset on these comments. I'm like, yo, don't trip. This is fake. These people are fake. This is not real. These bots are there. I don't know how they do it, but they some sort of low-level artificial intelligence, or you have a group of people in some click farm or something like that that's tweeting people. Most of these, I'm not paying. If someone says you got a big head, Nova, you got a loud mouth, and I look at their profile and you got 2 followers, I am not paying attention to you. Number one, you could be 14 years old in your mama's basement just saying stupid things just to get a reaction. Or 2, you're a bot and you're just there to put out, to negatively speak about something that I write. I'm not paying attention to it. So there are a lot more bots than you realize. And I'm scrolling down some of these comments and I'm like, this is mad fake. And I'm clicking on these profiles. It's like 2 followers, 5 followers. Open up their page a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I'm like, you don't get my attention that easily. I will not gift you with my attention if you are like a day old. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it. Now, there are people with 1,000 followers and there are bots. I had someone respond to me right now. Recently, it was this well-known dude. I forgot this guy's name. He was talking about the shooter in. Let me see here. Let me see if I can remember the shooter. It was just. Oh man, I don't feel like messing this. I forgot. There was a recent shooting, and let me see this guy's name here. Let's see this guy's name. Let me see if I can get. Yeah, Jason A. Williams at Going Parabolic. He's a Bitcoin enthusiast. And one guy, tweeted, and I was like, they were talking about the shooter in Greenwood Park Mall. The shooter, I didn't even get into details with it because I'm like, man, there's one more shooting. Killed 3 people, and I just simply said, hey, it's messed up that this guy shot the guy. No, it's dope that the guy got killed, and kept him from killing any more people. But it's unfortunate that he also got shot by another quote unquote good guy that happened to have a gun and killed the shooter. And I said, that's bad because now there's no way to investigate or interrogate someone that did a crime as bad as that was, another mass shooting, because you don't know if it's a lone shooter. You don't know if he's connected to a rogue group or organization. You want to find out if there's something bigger to this one event that happened. And this guy responded to me, and I'm like, he was like, oh, you just trying to, he was saying something totally ridiculous. Of course, after the second response that he sent to me, when I responded, I was like, okay, this guy's trolling, because he's not, someone's trying to troll you because they're not really trying to have a conversation. They're just trying to catch you out there to say something, and they're trying to egg you on. Of course, the point of troll is. So I'm like, and this guy I went to his profile, he had like 1,000 followers. So I'm like, okay, what's the point of you getting at me, bro? I'm not wasting my time with you. What am I supposed to be tweeting back and forth with you for the next hour? And you're obviously just trying to dig in deep with. I'm not going to do that. So beware bots. Beware people that are on social media trolls. They're just trying to pull you in. Do not, man. Say your piece and keep it moving. If you got a huge following and you got a whole lot of people throwing comments, some people just comment just to stir the pot to see the train wreck. So don't even get involved with me. Anyway. So let's get into the show, man. Let's rock and roll. As I always said, I am your host, Nova Phoenix, on GCOM Radio on iHeartRadio. And let's get it started, man. And my first topic of the day is pretty much we need a third party, a third political party. Yes, indeed. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. We need a third party. We need a third party. We need a third party. Easier said than done. I know there's a lot of different. It's a complicated journey to try to officialize a third party. Of course, the two-party system that we have of Democrats and Republicans are not going to make it easy because they don't want their votes to be taken away. They don't want their base to be sucked and siphoned away from them. Of course, that's just the way it is in the United States. But obviously, we need a third party for a variety of different reasons. And I wrote down a couple of reasons. Let's see if I can just go through them. And if you can agree with me, please shout me out. Let me know if I'm on the right track. Let me know if I'm on the wrong track. Just, hey, man, you know what it is, because I'll post it on my social media. So I have a couple of reasons why the United States needs a third party. Okay, so number one, Citizens United versus the Supreme Court. That's number one. It should be number one. Maybe I should have done it as a countdown, but don't matter. Number one, Citizens United versus Supreme Court. If you don't know what that is, that's a 2010 Supreme Court ruling that went in favor of a nonprofit conservative organization that stated that it's considered free speech for companies or outside groups to spend money towards any campaign. And because of that ruling, it allows for unlimited money to be spent on elections. When that was passed, it was a big fat nail in the coffin in the beautiful idea that people believe in, and it's called democracy. When you can have an organization that feel like it's free speech, where they, as far as their donations to any campaign, you know that's a problem. And to not just donate, it's not just a matter of donating. They can donate anonymously. So you don't even know who's donating money to whatever candidates. That's a problem. Because now if it's anonymously, and all of a sudden these politicians are not going to cater to the people that are voting for them, they're going to cater for the big dog. They're going to cater for the highest bidder that's going to finance their campaign, because it's very expensive to run a campaign in whatever political office that you're in. Politicians constantly have to raise money continuously. They spend more time, and I read an article, they spend more time raising money than it is to connect with their constituency, to connect with their their voters. Now, it's amazing that this has happened right before the eyes of the American people, and people don't make this a topic of discussion within even social media platforms. They get caught up in the BS as far as all the other things that does not make a difference as far as the quality of life. And the thing that affects their quality of life is that ruling, Citizens United versus Supreme Court. How in God's name do we not talk about this more? And as soon as that ruling came down, I knew it was a problem. Citizens United versus Supreme Court allows politicians to be bought and sold. And all that talk that they give you during their campaign run, whatever. Because once they get voted on, what do you think they start on once they sit in that seat? They start on giving. Sometimes they do a little things here and there, but ultimately is to raise money for their next campaign as soon as you turn around. So that's number one. Number two, them, because of this, lobbyists have our politicians on the whole stroll. No, what are you talking about? Yo, it sounds kind of like this. Remember that famous movie? I'll play a little clip, and maybe you can tell me what this sounds like, what politician sounds like this to you. All right, let's go.
I have a business proposition for you.
What do you want?
I'm going to be in town until Sunday. I'd like you to spend the week with me.
Really?
Yes. Yes, I'd like to hire you as an employee. Would you consider spending the week with me? I will pay you to be at my beck and call.
Look, I'd love to be your beck and call girl, but you're a rich, good-looking guy. You could get 1 million girls free.
I want a professional.
Doesn't it sound? Oh man, doesn't it sound? Who's that sound like to you? So it works itself into gun control. It works itself into mass shootings. It works itself into the student loan debt that's going into the billions and billions, into the trillions possibly. I don't know what it is. I forget, but it's a lot. It goes into the environmental issues that you and your community in the county or in your state have a problem with. It goes into everything, every facet of our society where there's a dollar sign for them not to pay attention or to pretend not to pay. Now, listen, don't get me wrong. As much as I talk about, I'm not anti-corporation. I'm a company myself. But the problem is that's becoming a bigger issue within our country is that we are literally disintegrating right before our eyes because our politicians are taking a fat check and are paid to look the other way. And as much people are being frustrated or are frustrated with the mass shootings that happen, especially what happened to Uvalde, innocent children, people are starting to catch with or it's starting to get their attention that thoughts and prayers really do it as much anymore. They've heard it so many times it's become a broken record. And now people are truly upset. Even Republicans with other Republicans are like, wait a second, I don't want my kid to get shot. But I guess I figure as long as you keep drilling that home on major news networks to everyone, people will stay on that rhetoric. That's why that's what they call it programming. You're programming the people. You've heard that saying before. You know, and also the third, number 3, it goes for voting for politicians. You don't pick your politician. Do you pick your politician? Really? When's the last time that you picked the community, wherever you're from whatever county, from whatever small city, that you picked someone that lived around the corner for you to run for senator or run for governor or run for any high seat? Not talking about city council. That's kind of control. I'm talking about higher seats. All of a sudden, this person pops out of nowhere, and they're like, "Hey, can you unload some of what's in your pockets to, so I can run my campaign?" I'm like, "Yo, who is this person?" Now, when you do have someone that fights for the people, Bernie Sanders was one. Now, I'm not saying this as a Bernie Sanders fan or a cheerleader. I'm just telling you what I've noticed. When Bernie Sanders, the last time he ran, I noticed that on major news media, he was cleverly left out of the conversation when it came to campaigning. I saw Bernie Sanders, he didn't even have to be Obama. There were people that were literally cheering. His crowds were immense. But whenever you had the news anchors talking about the points, where they're going, what states that they're going to capture, blah, 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 during the primary, Bernie Sanders' name was conveniently left out. All the time? No, I'm not saying all the time, but there was a couple of times like, wait a second, they were naming them off. Wow, this person got this percentage, this person got this percentage, X person got this percentage. And I'm like they're going down. I'm like, yo, this dude is not even on the list. They are literally locking this guy out. I noticed that. So your politicians that you vote for, you have not picked. They pick them for you. The fourth one, Republicans, I'm going to keep it real. Republicans are on a white supremacist tear. As I said, black people were always suspicious of the Republican Party, with those nice suits and those clean ties and a carefully coiffed hair. They were very professional, looking like a CEO of X company, right? Or this is what we're going to do for you. But black people were always suspicious because it's not what they said, is what they didn't say. It was the policies that they passed that negatively affected black folks in the short term or the long term, or other even poor people, right? But in particular when it comes to black people. But now the Trump situation, it tore off that damn wool over people's eyes. They are out and out. They are out now. Their hair is disheveled. The tie is all loose and messed up. The jacket is off. They are on a tear. They don't care. They like, nah, man. Listen, we tired of playing this game. We done with this. We showing you how we really are. All right, because we tired of all this bullshit. The brown in America. Nah, this is how we doing. So, the Democrats, of course, the response from them is very questionable. Little suspicious, their responses. So you're looking at the Democrats, Biden, you voted for. And I'm like, okay. So, and you see this happening, all the legislation that's coming by, especially with Roe versus Wade. And then you're looking back, it's like a tennis game, and you're looking back at the Democrats. I'm like, so what are you gonna do now? Because you're expecting to get, what's the counter? And then usually it's what I did before, what I put in before, crickets, or it's some sort of weak backed excuse like, really? That's your response? So you have some staunch, diehard Democrats, they're lifelong Democrats that are literally screaming at the television, what? Now you getting them upset. Not even, as they say, the progressive left. You're having more of the center Democrats getting upset, especially what happened with Roe versus Wade. So you're like, what is happening here? So it's like the Democrats are playing checkers in a game of chess that these Republicans are playing. Or are they? Yeah, because you gotta think. Wait a second. You know what? Either you're stupid, either you're lame and you're soft with a capital T, or you're a conspirator. Are you going along with this? It's like any crime. When you know someone that saw someone rob the bank, and then all of a sudden you go to the person, yo, I saw you, I know you saw it. I saw you seen the guy rob the bank, and could you go to the cops? And the guy's like, I didn't see much. No, I know you saw it because you were right there sitting on the bench across the street, and you were looking at everything, and the thing went down at the bank, and you're like, I'm not really seeing. And you're like, what? You didn't see the crime? Yeah, because my back. No, it wasn't. Your back wasn't turned all the way. You were slightly tilted, like away, slanted away from the front of the bank. But I know you heard the shots. I know you heard the screeching of the getaway car. I know you heard the screaming, "Don't follow us." I know you saw something. No, I really didn't see anything. I was, my friend was there. And then what's your response? You're like, my guy, you're not going to play me for fool. And sometimes you can get away with that person, you get away with it. But we're coming at a certain point in our political system where people that were okay with it before are now saying, get the fuck out of here. And that's where we're at right now with the Democrats. People like, get the fuck out of here, Biden. And all the rest of them? That's what people are thinking right now. So it makes you think, as I said before, either you're soft with a capital T, you have no plan and you're just kicking rocks with the hands in your pockets like, oh shucks, Republicans don't play so hard. Or, yeah, something a little bit more than that. Next, 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's the fifth one. I had to read that one because I don't have any I have bullet points. I don't have numbers. Anyway, fifth one. Politicians stay until they have 1 foot in the grave. Politicians stay until they have 1 foot in the grave. Now, don't get me wrong. It's good to have experience. It's great to have experience. I mean, you need that. You don't need people that's like fresh and new, and then we got to, your green thumb, you're a rookie, because you're gonna get rolled over. It's important to have people that has experience. But after a certain while, when you're old and gray and you can no longer get out of your bed and you take more pills and then I don't know, brush your teeth, and it's important. It's very important that we have some sort of term limits. I mean, just as much as there is a minimum age to run for president, there should be a maximum age where you should run for president as well. And I'm not just talking about president, but a lot of different seats. Because, when you get to know every crack, scratch, piece of lint in the halls of Congress, every old warped flower table and picture that's on the wall, you tend to start getting a little complacent. You tend to start getting really, really comfortable with the people that you've grown old with. And I'm not just talking about that party. I'm talking about across the aisle. When you've been friends with this person on our side, it's like, yo, you're a traitor. Wait a second. You actually was involved with this January 6th thing. Of course they're not going to put it. And when you're in for so long, they tend to know your dirt as much as you know their dirt. And you're not going to go too far because this guy that you quote unquote is your enemy or is on the other side of the aisle and knows a lot about you. So you're not going to go that far because all of a sudden this secret paper or this video or this audio comes out and it's like you saying some craziness or a party that you went to where you were having a discussion with your fellow politicians. It was a little bit more than that. Parties are not always, or meetings are not always held in stuffy office rooms. Sometimes you want to unwind and go to a nightclub and have a little fun. All right. You know how that is. So yeah, they get to know you. Got to have term limits, man. And things just get too wild. People know each other, get to know each other too much. So they never really, you develop this rapport, even with the guy from face value looks like your enemy, and they're not really your enemy. You just, you have differences of opinion. And all of a sudden it's like, I'm not going to put him away. I know this guy. Not unless I can't even say the crime of crimes for a civilian in said country, or whatever country, the crime of crimes, the highest crime that you could commit, sedition and being a traitor, the highest crime. Now, when you can't go to jail from the highest crime, there's no other crime higher that a citizen can do, a regular citizen or a citizen that's sitting in public office. There's no higher crime than sedition and traitorous acts. But obviously that don't mean nothing either. So, obviously they're fast friends, and that don't even make a difference. And you just need fresh ideas. I think that's the top 5. That's all I got, folks. Five Citizens United versus Supreme Court. Lobbyists is just, got these politicians on the whole show on everything. You can see it in gun control, massive, everything. Voting for politicians, man. Do you actually pick your politicians? For the Republicans are on a wild tear, but Democrats, you can't seem to understand what strategy they're taking, and are they really enemies? And then lastly, of course, these politicians are in office for a long time. So to me, we need fresh ideas, man. We need fresh ideas. We need a party that's not tied into what a lot of people think of it as a corrupt system. If you want to use that C word of corruption, let's just say institutional politics. People that are not tied in that's a very, that's a better word, better chosen word, right? Institutional politicians. They've been in there for so long. They're like an old water mill that slowly you hear the creaking of the wood as it turns the water out, picks up the water, wheel turn and pours the water. And everything that wind blows, you hear the rocking of the windmill house. And it's like windmill. So you need a water mill house, and it's an old building. Still does its job, but it's old. So you need fresh ideas. We need results. We need people with fire and vigor that's going to say, you know what, no more, we're going to do something different. And as much as they get pushed back on, you need to push back with equal fire and vigor. Because we need something new, and possibly we could do that within the third party that doesn't have any connections, that wants to think outside the box and do what's necessary for the people. So yeah, that's my 5 pieces on why we need, or 5 reasons why we need a third party. All right, so shout out to Bruce Willis. I saw an article on him prepping for the 34th anniversary of Die Hard, a classic cinematic, just, oh my God, glorious film. Die Hard. I love that movie. So his wife dropped a video of him on top of the Fox Plaza building in LA, and they use that Fox Plaza building as the Nakatomi, the famous Nakatomi building that blew up at the end of Die Hard. And now, Bruce Willis, oh man, I got just so warm inside when I saw him on top of the Fox Plaza building. But Bruce Willis, unfortunately, he had to leave acting back in March because he suffers from a rare brain disease called aphasia that affects your cognitive ability. So I think he just can't hold a thought, and is having problems. So he just he willingly retired. And my man is a legend, Bruce Willis. He's the man, Bruce Willis. I've been watching Bruce Willis since I was a kid in Moonlighting, and I loved him in Moonlighting. And, he just became a star when Die Hard dropped, and people thought that movie wasn't going to be, I believe I saw the behind the scenes of the making of Die Hard, and they didn't think it was going to be as big as it was. And he wasn't even the first pick. They weren't even sure if Bruce Willis was going to be John McClane. And they thought he was just too jokey, and they was like, nah, not him, but he fit the part. They gave him a try, and he just was John McClane through and through, man. So shout out to Bruce Willis for such a great career, and I appreciate every movie, even for the ones I haven't seen. The ones that you've done, man. You've done your thing, man. Shout out to Bruce Willis, man. There was an interview in the Hollywood Reporter, the Russo brothers. Everybody know who the Russo brothers is. They did a lot of Marvel movies, of course. Captain America, Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinite War, Endgame. So fantastic directors, man. Fantastic directors. It's funny. In the Hollywood Reporter, they did an interview on one particular thing that jumped out in this article. They were talking about that they think movie going is elitist and expensive. And they're saying that movie studios should embrace movie streaming even more than they already have. Now, granted, Netflix, they've been losing subscribers. I think that's just temporary. And I think it plateaus. After a while, it plateaus. And they're supposedly saying theaters are going back pre-pandemic in this article. I really don't think so, folks. I'm telling you, I just saw Thor, and I'll give a review. Okay, let me give you a one-sentence review. Thor, nice. Love the CGI. Wasn't that great. And I'm not knocking Taika Waititi. I think he's a great director. I just think they went overboard in a certain lot of ways. They became kind of campy. It started the movie, the jokes just started turning into like Police Academy slapstick, and I heard they improv'd a lot of it, and I'm like, nah. Especially with Gore the God Butcher. I think Christian Bale did, chef's kiss. This guy did a beautiful rendition or a beautiful play on Gore the God Butcher, and I think the entire movie, the direction where they went, and it's just what it is. That's the direction they picked. I think it really kind of overshadowed such a brilliant a display of acting from Christian Bale being Gore the God Butcher, and I wanted to see so much. And plus, it didn't even, spoiler alert. I'm sorry, folks. If I ain't always tell you, I just didn't like. And you could stop it and fast forward. So yeah, I didn't like the fact that if he was the God Butcher, how come he only killed one god that we saw, and it was at the very beginning before he became Gore the God Butcher. And I thought, man, there was some great performances of that I've seen from the actors. I didn't have a problem with the actors at all. I just didn't like the direction where they were going in as far as the movie. So anyway, that's a whole nother deal. But anyway, they were saying that in the Hollywood Reporter that the theaters are going back to pre-pandemic, and the reason why I brought up Thor, because the theater was empty. I every movie that comes out, it does great, especially a highly anticipated movie. It does fantastic in the first weekend, and then it falls, like Grace Randolph. I watch from time to time, and she does movie math, and every second follow-up weekend, these movies drop like 55-65%. That is a huge drop in ticket sales. So I don't know what the Hollywood is talking about. Movies are going back to pre-pandemic. No, it's not. People would rather see their movies at home, just like how people want to work at home. People want to see their movies at home, and the only way that you're getting people to come out to the movie theaters if it's a big blockbuster film. Marvel right now has a lot of people's attention. However, they're on kind of shaky ground, because if they don't correct this direction on where Marvel is going, Taika Waititi kind of like pull back on on the jokes a little bit. I mean, again, I hate to go back to it. There was nothing wrong with even Ragnarok. Ragnarok was a great balance of seriousness and jokes, and it just fit in the pocket. Thor: Love and Thunder just went, he just knocked it out the park and was like, I'm dumping everything in there. And it didn't. Anyway, so I don't see theaters going back pre-pandemic. I'm sorry. people will see a movie for the first time, people talk, and then all of a sudden people are like, I'll wait for it to come out. Because we live in a digital age, people are burning these movies. It's even happening from the inside because you can't get clear copies like the way they're being, put out there, disseminated just from the promotional. Remember back in the day, DVDs, they would leak the promotional copies and you always see at the bottom for promotional use. Nah, man, they just leaking them joints. And plus you got the internet instead of DVDs. Of course, this thing is going around the world in microseconds because people are sharing it online, people are streaming it, so of course the movie industry responded by getting into movie streaming, and the pandemic kind of forced that. It was a catalyst to that. So yeah, I don't know what they're talking about. Don't listen to Hollywood Reporter. Movies are not going pre-pandemic numbers. It never will. The cat's out the bag, the genie's out the bottle. It's a done deal. People will go to the movies, yes they will, but again, they'd rather see it at home. All right. And especially after that first week on a highly anticipated film, if it's not exactly what people wanted, if the word gets around, people will not go to the movie theaters. They won't. They'll be like, I'll just wait for it to come out. It's going to come out in like 30 days anyway, 60 days anyway. So, who cares? Or people won't even wait. They'll just, they're going and jailbroken, I don't know, or what is the Flash thing, whatever. They'll see it then on their television and stream it right to the television. They're 75-inch. So yeah, shout out to the Russo brothers, but the Hollywood Reporter had it so wrong in terms of, what is going to be the new normal now. The new normal is not theaters anymore. Anyway, all right, so back in June 30th, this thing dropped. I just saw this on social media. Governor Holcomb of Indiana just signed a bill, which he just didn't sign it, but it happened back in June 30th, for people to carry guns in Indiana without a permit, meaning you will not have to get a gun permit to quote unquote legally carry. Now, the funny thing is, Governor Holcomb went about doing this, and everybody knows his old information, but I just want to share it because I'm like, word, for real? Even the police agencies in Indiana, all over Indiana, was like, yo, this is a bad idea. This is actually going to make our jobs harder. We actually use this to see who is doing something. So, I mean, I don't know what's going on. And I told you Republicans on a mad tear, right? I told you they were, because this just said that. I mean, they are wilding out. They are literally going insane and passing bills that are allowing their state to self-destruct. It's going back to the Wild Wild West. You know what I mean? It's going back to the Wild Wild West, and you don't know who holding what, whatever. And it's like you always know the underground scene, the criminals. All right, cool. They had guns. They wasn't going for no permit. You did what you did. But when you average, ordinary people that you normally wouldn't trust, to turn it back on the coin, the gumdrop machine, you wouldn't turn it back with people in, and you trying to get your gumdrops. All of a sudden now you got to deal with people with guns that don't have a permit. So I don't even know what's going on in this dude's mind. Like, Governor Holcomb is like, fucking, and this happened in every state. All these Republicans are passing legislation. Of course, Roe versus Wade, it's illogical. It doesn't make sense. They just said, I forgot what state, they're saying they're allowing for a mother to die. They're allowing a mother to die just so abortion is not performed. So what are you saying? So the mother is going to die. The abortion will not happen even if you know the mother is going to die. And that's in law. That's in your state law. That is literally your state legislation. That's madness. Republicans are just imploding right now. I don't know what none of it makes sense. They are literally imploding. They're going psychotic with what they're doing right now as far as these laws are concerned. And it makes me think about Judge Dredd, Sylvester Stallone. I always have. I said it before. It makes me think that when Judge Dredd goes out into the Badlands and you see the family, they all twisted up, and I don't know what these states are going to look like 40 years from now, and their Republican strongholds what that next generation is going to look like 40 years from now, man. It makes me think of Judge Dredd, man, where they're not even stopping it for incest. They're not stopping it for rape. They nothing. I mean, like, what is happening? This is madness. What's going on? I mean, I'm in New York. They support, they're pro-abortion, of course. I mean, I don't even understand, because abortion works for men too, because, people, human beings, they're going to interact, they're going to have sex, and, situations happen. And then it works for men too. So why wouldn't you want it? All of a sudden you're going to have kids, and, you know what I mean? I don't know what's going on with them. Anyway, shout out to Raphael Sadiq. That's another brother. Everybody knows Raphael Sadiq. He's a famous music producer. He's going to executive produce a new Disney animated series called Moon Girl, man. It's about a 13-year-old super genius named Lunella Lafayette. And right along with her is a 10-ton T-Rex, man. I think it's Marvel. I don't know. I've heard about this before, but he's executive producing the project. And these two, they're basically trying to save the New York's Lower East Side. And it's going to come out on Disney Plus in 2023. So big shout out to Raphael Sadiq for getting that thing going. I'm looking forward to it. I saw some still images of the cartoon, and I think it's fantastic, man. Who'd have thought that Raphael was going to get that project? So yeah, man, big ups to him. Tabitha Brown, that's everybody knows Tabitha Brown, the vegetarian, the vegan, I must say. To correct myself, she is going to start. She got a deal on the Food Network for her own plant-based competition show called Complicated. It's complicated. It's complicated. So yeah, of course, obviously you know what it is. I don't have to go on further anymore. It's just gonna be a vegan cooking show where you're gonna make the most delectable vegan meals, and I would love to see that. It makes me want to go back to veganism, or just having a little bit more vegetarian plates in front of me for my new turn in my new diet. And it'd be dope to go to some vegan places, because don't get it twisted, man. There are a lot of dope vegan restaurants and that we don't even realize and we don't want to take a break from. So I'm definitely going to look into Tabitha Brown. Shout out to Tabitha Brown. She's come a long way, the sister. So she's got a dope show that's coming around the bend. Yeah, man, I would love to talk about I don't know if I should talk about this. Oh, the FBA. The FBA is trending. They trending. I don't know if I should talk about this. I don't know, because I've been seeing on Twitter this guy, Tariq Nasheed, is trending. Everybody knows that this dude started the FBA, coined the phrase FBA, Foundation of Black Americans. I spoke about it before on the show. So it's really getting some attention, of course, reparations, which I fully support, of course, especially people that's been generationally been here. But there's some issues that I do have with FBA, of course. I don't have a problem with it as a designation of people, but I just have a problem with the ways they're going about to spread their message, and it's very toxic, man. I've never seen anything like it before. Like, let me say again, people are going to take my words out of context when they listen to this. I don't have any problems if you want to name yourself. I've been on this planet for a long time, and I've seen black people, speaking to my black folk, I've seen people have many designations, whether they're Hebrew Israelite, want to call themselves a Moor, or even the recent thing that I've heard about, it's called something freedmen, African American freedmen. It's another sect of people that it splits between the indigenous people, Indians, and the Africans that were freed, and they, of course they fused, they had kids, and there was a whole group of people, and they're somewhere in the southeast, right? I think it was South Carolina and Florida. So it's kind of similar to FBA, but for reasons I understand. So that's a recent thing I just found out. But FBA, and I know I talked about it before, but it's like it's going places where I just don't agree with, man. I disagree with it wholeheartedly, and how Tariq is kind of playing this up, man. my turn is when, again, I woke up 4 o'clock in the morning. I think I said this already. Yeah, as I said, I think I do believe, and it was very toxic. And, you know, this guy had a Twitter space 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what is this? You know, and then all of a sudden, you know, he does this thing talking about, you know, the continental Africans and basically was pitting African Americans against, you know, continental Africans, and you know, Africans calling black folks here in America Akata, and it was very toxic, and it got to the point where it just turned into a cursing game, throwing darts at each other, and it was very toxic, man. And that's not how you do building, and I have problems with that, because if you're building your whole stance on negativity and poison and toxicity, and you're just spewing things out just to say how you're different from someone else. And then at times he does talk, when I do catch him, and he's like, no, I mean this. But every time he goes to his platform, that's all he talks about. That's all he talks about, how, you know, those bad Caribbean people and those bad, you know, if he was fair, there are other people that do mention that you do have quote unquote coons, and I'll say that straight up, coons that come to this country and all of a sudden they want to side with the social structure or the dominant society and not even, you know, getting down. I don't have any problems with getting down. I mean, New York is a mixed bag of, especially when I'm talking about, you know, the black folk in New York. It was Caribbean, it's continental Africans, it was African Americans, especially in hip hop. It's a mixture. Oh, you didn't care where you came from, just as long as we all agree that there was all the injustices that were happening to black people, and sharing our cultures and sharing our ideas and our foods and everything. Yeah. But then, of course, there are those same people that coon it up and want to side with white supremacy and talk about how, you know, black people or African Americans don't have a culture, and that's crazy. So there are those people out there that can make the distinction and be very clear about it. But Tariq does not do that. He does that. He intentionally stoke the fires and basically stirs a pot for people to go at each other. I'm like, he was involved with a lot of his own docs and I forgot the name of it. I can't. It escapes me the name. But he's done it for a long time. He's not a stupid dude. So he does. I do know he understands COINTELPRO and how it affected the Black Power movements back in the late 60s and the 70s, and how they intentionally broke up groups and pitted people against each other by sending letters to each other to say how, okay, I don't like how you doing this, I don't like it, just so they could get at each other's necks to sow division. And that's what he does. You know, if you understand the history, I know him long enough to know that Tariq Nasheed is a grifter. He does stoke the flames, and he stokes the flames because now if he gets people more and emotionally stir them, he could get them more on this identity stance, position, and then he could get what he wants. And to me, that's what I see. And because I've been watching, I watch everyone, and nobody's perfect. You know, nobody's perfect, right? But I see and I watch and I don't say anything and I look closer, but I see this thing gaining steam. And I've actually been in some spaces because I'm interested. I'm curious to know what other people are saying and what they're taking from the words that Tariq is saying, and it's gotten very negative. As I said, like toxic and destructive. I've known people. I hear people that say, they actually gotten mad at people that had some words to say, and people that were obviously trolling FBA, and he was like, yo, you can't say that in my city, and they literally are going to fight. I'm like, yo, you cannot be that stupid. As smart as Tariq is, I'm surprised he doesn't say anything to really control that type of talk. Because there is the people in the dominant society and government that don't like anything that's constructive for the black population here in America, and will intentionally use weak links to sow what? Division. So when Tariq does that, I don't have a problem with him pointing out people that have bad things to say about African Americans. I get that. I see it. I've been about, and you know what? Honestly, this conversation ain't new. What he bringing up, that's a conversation that's been happening in the black community, but it's happened in our own circles, and we dealt with it in our own way. But now he uses that as his talking points, and it's become like the flag that he waves in order to build up this identity that he's doing, and he is stirring up a lot of emotion and getting people pissed off. And in certain ways, like I said, I understand some of the energy that's floating around, but he doesn't do it in a very careful and poignant way. And it's wild. It's like swinging a club in a crystal shop, just so he can get what he needs. And that's a problem. I've actually supposedly I heard of FBA people calling ICE. I don't know. That's what someone said in the space. I don't know if that's true. That's hearsay. I don't go for hearsay. If I say something and I'm pointing that out, I will have some sort of, a follow-up, an article, or someone saying something definitive and evidence that that's happening. I don't know if that's happening, but I did hear like people like really getting violent with those that have some words to say. So it's just, to me, you become a one-trick pony if all you're doing day in and day out, every week, every time you get on social media, is talking about this person says something bad about me. That group of people said something bad about African Americans. That's terrible. That's crazy. And that's all you're talking. It becomes, what else are you other than trying to point out that FBA people or immigrants are really doing something bad to African Americans? I'm like, this is new shit to me, man. This is new shit, because this never exists, especially from hip hop. I'm hearing these arguments over hip hop. I'm like, B, are you serious? Are we having this argument? African Americans, Kool Herc, of course, he was Jamaican, but he was Jamaican. Of course, there are different influences, right? If you took two records and from Jamaica, and then he did like kind of like a sound clash thing, and the Caribbean music didn't work because the people weren't really into that. And so he started playing the R&B records and the break beats, and they was like, oh, what's hot? Regardless of where he's from, he found something and he contributed to hip hop to make it what he is. Those were the early seeds. So it doesn't matter if he was foundational. It doesn't matter if he was from Trinidad or Jamaica, or he was from Russia. He came here, and that was at a time where a lot of Caribbean people were migrating into New York and the other cities, into America, to get a better chance. And they contributed their own feel through hip hop. Not saying there was no Jamaican music. Let's get it straight. And even Kool Herc, I don't even have to say it. And I said this before on the show. Kool Herc said it on record. No, they weren't playing Caribbean music. He got into the Black American music and used that and found something that attracted people in the Bronx. And it became hip hop what we understand it today. So even at that time, there was a smorgasbord. There was all types of people that was contributing to hip hop in New York. Whether you were from Brooklyn, Harlem, Bronx, Staten Island, you was either generationally Black American, or you were Caribbean, or you were continental African. That didn't matter. It didn't matter. It's not, folks, it did not matter. It was more like, oh, you like the music? Oh, bet, cool. Yo, where you from, bro? Oh, yeah, I'm from Trinidad. Oh, all right, cool. Because there were people that were born here, first generation, that grew up in the hip hop, loved it, and wanted to practice it and be involved with it. There was an acknowledgement of your roots, your lineage that went to various places, but it was never something that where it's going today. It's getting really negative, y'all. I'm hearing these conversations and a lot of people getting clickbaity-ish, people trying to get likes, and they getting real reckless. You know how it is on social media, and they getting loosey-goosey with their mouth, which only when you feed that energy into the other side and you put that out into the universe, into the ether, you won't get that energy back. Now, the people that stand on this, as far as FBA saying, nah, y'all guessing hip hop, now they want to throw that energy. Now, what we doing right now? We're doing the same thing of what went on back in the days in the 90s between Tupac and Biggie. East Coast versus West Coast. Death Row versus Bad Boy Records. We're doing the exact same thing. And you think Tariq would be smart enough to understand that the dominant society, the folks that are watching it, everybody's watching this, and right now these dudes are sinisterly laughing and giggling and say, yo, I'm a stoke. So now you got people coming into these spaces, and we know I just spoke about bots and people faking. Now you have people that are intentionally stirring the pot and saying reckless things and getting people pissed off, and then getting mad at each other. Now, to the point where people are literally going to be walking the streets saying, yo, who are you? Yo, you ain't FBA. And then the Caribbean folk that been here, boy, I'm not talking about people like, yo, son, why you getting at me like that? When that was never the case. Now look where we going with it. It is stupid toxic. And that's my problem with FBA. That's my problem. You want to take that identity, fine. And obviously, even in terms of reparations, when they talk about reparations, I understand you are making this designation so other people do not get some of that money where it should go to people generationally that's being here as Black Americans, right? If you want to call it FBA, whatever it is, I respect that. No doubt. I'm with you. So it's the same thing as the Hutus and the Tutsis. I'm not going to go to freaking that region where those tribes are fighting each other and thousands of people died. And all of a sudden they're getting reparations from, I think it was Belgium that was involved with that, or Dutch or something like that. That was kind of stoked the flames between the Hutus and the Tutsis. And all of a sudden I'm coming there as a Black American. I'd be like, yo, let me get that check too. Nah, that ain't got nothing to do with me. That ain't got nothing to do with me. I want them to get their reparations, but yo, straight up, I want them to get that. They should. But, you know, it should not. That's why I understand how it should not go to people that just come here if you're a continental African. You ain't got nothing to do with that. But the conflict, if you're talking about creating this designation from a pure where this money is going to, okay, cool. But to me, again, that's my personal opinion. You shouldn't make an identity, which it is layered and it's deep. And you should always be very sure what label you're going to give yourself, what identity you're taking on, and for what reasons, the who, what, where, and the why, where, because it's a very personal, intimate thing when you create your identity. And it should not be relegated to just money. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure nobody else gets it, so I'm gonna call this. It's very surface. It's very shallow. But if that's what you want to call yourself, that's fine. All right, cool. But this toxicity that's developing, this bad energy that's swelling up, I see that same thing happening, man. And it's contagious. And it'll start to go in other places. And this, I mean, you can't even have a word been in spaces where I hear people trying to logically give a counter argument, and people are so sucked into, it's almost cultish, are so sucked into this FBA thing that they're being literally shut out of a conversation and thrown out of rooms by saying, nah, you ain't FBA, so you can't even talk. And that's not what constructive building is about. Especially when I built with my brothers back in the day, it was an exchange of ideas and giving you opposing sides. And even when we was building, we're taking the information from our scholars from back then. But what's the difference is between what we were talking about back then, back in the 90s when we were building on the street corner, it ain't got nothing to do with building and saying, hey man, here's my evidence. This is the book I read. Here's maybe, you know, take that with you, build, read that. But nah, it's literally gone down to just tossing darts on who's going to give the more wicked insult. That's not building. That's not building at all. And now we're getting past facts. We're getting past evidence. We're getting past. That's not what building is. Now, again, what only thing that you're doing is pitting one group of people against another. And that's my problem. You want to point out the coons that are coming here? Fine. Point it out, but that don't mean it's for the rest of the group of people. It's like almost in a situation where a woman is having beef with her man, and the man's being abusive to her, and she breaks up with this dude, and she gets with another dude abusive to her, whatever the case, and all of a sudden you talking to this woman, and you very clearly knows that she is bad baggage, that she's bad goods, where now she casts this whole blame on the whole gender of men, saying fuck men. And then we looking at it from the outside looking in and be like, nah, you just had bad relationships. You made bad choices in one or two people. And what do we usually say? Just because you had one or two bad choices that you made doesn't mean you should toss all men out. It's the same thing with this FBA thing. Yeah, you're going to have coons who are going to come and say some reckless things like African Americans don't have culture. But just don't just don't cast aside a whole group of people. So now when you're doing that intentionally. Now there's nothing good of goodwill that you're trying to do with that by making that statement, by intentionally casting a bad light on a whole group of people. There's nothing noble or moral or objective or impartial about that. Now you're running a game. You're running you're a tool. You're running some sort of a tool to get what you need. That's my problem. But you know what? I'm just hoping people it doesn't go where it went with the East Coast, West Coast. I hope it don't go there, man. Because we're just repeating the same thing. And it's important. I hope that cooler heads prevail. And I'm hoping there are people that are actually scholars and people that do have a certain school of thought can wrangle this in and be like, folks, chill. Where are we going with this? That's why I like Dr. Greg Carr, man. He's a teacher. He's a professor at Howard University, and he does his thing, and he expertly breaks it down. But then, of course, I see the comments and people, and a lot of it is bots. Like I said, a lot of it is bots. But people are getting swept into this. Like, folks, keep it real. And to the point where I'm seeing the contradictions at Tariq Nasheed, but he doesn't care about that. He's just like, he's going balls in. He's not correct. He's like, yo, hey, this is what I'm about. I'm like, what? So that's where I feel suspect about where he's coming from. I'm like, hey, but it was trending hardcore on Twitter and all that. It's just wild where I see this is going, and especially in terms of hip hop, and I'm like, it just doesn't make any sense, man. Freaking most people in hip hop are from the West Indies or from the Caribbean, with a mishmash of African Americans. African Americans definitely is in there. I'm talking, but that was that was never a concentration. That was never a thing that we had to think about. It was just like, oh, you black, you do hip hop, yeah. Whether you from Harlem or you from the West Coast or you from Florida, you got this dope thing happening in Texas. Oh snap, it's going to Louisville. All right, bet. That's what's up. Now all of a sudden we get into this conversation that was never a thing. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, your boy that you knew for a long time, now all of a sudden you be like, well, you're not FBA, so you can't really talk. I'm like, what, son? We all doing this together. It was always a family thing. Now it's a problem. Anyway, so that's my deal. All right, folks, appreciate it. I'm going to get out of here. I talked long enough. You see me on the next go around next week, and please listen in, tune in, smash the subscribe button on my YouTube. Follow me on Twitter, even though I'm not really messing with IG like that, but follow me on IG, follow me on TikTok if you want. Follow me anywhere, just put in Lyfeblood, Lyfeblood, and I'm right there. All right, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you for listening to me run on and drivel and doing all those things, and I appreciate you guys. Keep coming back when you really connecting with what I'm saying. I truly appreciate it. So excuse me. I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you, guys. Until next week, I'm out.
Check it.
You just listened to GCOM Radio, powered by Lyfeblood.com for the global community.
We worldwide, baby.
See you in the next go round. From right here to your town, we out.